The pastime of collecting. For some, it's a harmless hobby. For others, a powerful obsession. In Ohio, a peculiar passion fills a house with a collection of footwear.
I have never been embarrassed about the fact that I like what I like.
In Las Vegas, a vast collection is a monument to eccentricity.
It's eclectic, it's natural history, it's religion. I think I'm probably being a monument to mankind.
In Turkey, stored in an underground cave, is a collection of hair shorn from the heads of female tourists.
I love to keep mementos. It's nice to keep women's hair.
And back in Britain, an invasion of birds threatens to drive a man from his own nest.
You can't see much of the house. It just seems that every square inch is covered with something.
When way too much still isn't enough, collecting becomes an obsession. Dance instructor Doug Gaines has a hunger for collecting.
I have well over 5 million photographs, 3,000 videos on VHS, 3,500 DVDs. I'd say about 300 pair of shoes that I've got stored away.
Doug's collection has a theme. It's all about feet.
I think of my relationship to feet and footwear and socks and shoes as simply just a part of me. I am Doug. I have a foot fetish.
In the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, 58-year-old Doug Gaines has a house full of footwear.
This room is loaded with cases of hockey skates and football cleats and baseball cleats and boots and just everything you could think of. I'd certainly find the foot and footwear exciting, the shoes and socks or the sports type things that are on the feet. The reason I find myself collecting certain socks or certain shoes or certain items of clothing is because it gives me pleasure that I believe we all deserve. It satiates a sensual appetite.
Doug is not the only person on this world who finds feet sexually exciting. He is just one of the few who react to that sense of excitement in a particular way, which is a classic collector's way. Collectors want something that is more than an object, a connection to something that they value, that they find exciting or sacred.
Doug also collects photographs of feet.
I have well over 5 million photographs that I've taken over the years. And what's exciting is some of these older ones that I've taken, especially the black and whites, hold up today just as good as they did 38 years ago. I love a photograph. I can look at an image and I can paint in my mind an incredible fantasy that would knock your socks off. To me, it's like going to an art museum. It's just a work of art.
I don't think it is a contradiction to be a foot fetishist and a collector of the things that you crave.
God, this is good.
By cataloging it, by putting it into a drawer, in a way you have become its master. It is also a way of mastering something that otherwise exerts a huge and overwhelming pull on you.
Doug's also an avid collector of foot videos.
I started this 38 years ago when VHS films were in. I have about 3,000 to 3,500 films here alone. There are times when I'll have my certain favorite one that I'll pick up and I'll look and pop in and say, God, that was exciting, or I like looking at that, or I'd like to see that again. So I'd pop them in from time to time and just enjoy them for my own pleasure. When the VHS started to die out, I had to go to DVD, and I arranged them according to models. And Perry, for example, being one of my favorites to watch, I can go in here anytime and pull out a Perry and say, oh, God, I remember this one. He was wearing penny loafers, and it was a really good scene. I'm going to watch this one, and I'll pull it out and just plop it in and love it. It's great. I have 3,500 DVDs now.
And the collection is always growing.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you too. Good, I'm glad you're back. Hey man, good to see you.
Because he hires foot models and makes his own films.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
There are a number of models that I use regularly. In the years I've been doing this, I have hired over 400 people to model for me.
And go.
Doug is gay, so his passion is for men's feet.
In the beginning, I recorded simply for my own pleasure, saying, gee, I'd like to save this scene so I could relive it. Okay, cut. Okay, what I need to see now a little bit is, Austin, if you change your position a little bit. I'm not aroused at all when I'm filming or photographing, and here's the reason why. Because I'm so concerned with the cameras, the lighting. Can they see the face? Can they see the image?
There's absolutely no nudity in any of them, nor will there ever be. All we're doing is showing the sensuality of the foot, so there's nothing X-rated about it.
But the DVD isn't the only thing Doug collects from the shoot.
I'm surrounded here by the socks from the various models, from the various film sessions and photo sessions that I've done. I've asked the models to wear them a few days before so they have, A, the reality of the scent of the sock, and B, the imprint of the foot on the sock. I would put them quickly in a Ziploc bag to keep that scent. And of course, for me, the scent of the foot is what I really like. To me, that is the scent that is intoxicating to me. It's thrilling, it's exciting.
Doug's learned a trick which intensifies the sock's odor.
I learned that to get the molecules of the scent active again, if you spritz it with the tiniest little bit of water, stick it in a plastic bag unsealed, and put it in the microwave for 12 seconds, the molecules start to react again and the scent comes alive again. I can smell the scent of a man. It's powerful and strong, dominating. It's an aphrodisiac. It smells like a real man.
The scientific definition of a fetish is an object that has sexual power. So for Doug, feet and socks and shoes and boots and everything associated with the foot have sexual power. Doug is a hardcore foot fetishist.
Doug's been attracted to feet since early childhood.
Shoes, socks, and feet have played a part of my life since I was younger than 4. It was something that I've always noticed even before I reached puberty. And I would find myself, sneaking close to them and just fascinated by them, but not knowing why at that age.
Attraction became arousal, and feet became objects to be caressed and kissed.
When I am, let's say, acting as a stool or a footrest for a man, to me it's very exciting because it allows me to put myself for those moments in a very submissive position to him. And it allows him to feel that sense of power and control.
Roberto has been indulging Doug's desire for straight men's feet for 10 years.
I do not have the fetish, no. There's no foot play with my partner. I do it for the role play, the power, domination. I don't think that it's strange at all, and I really don't care what other people think.
Some experts believe fetishes can be explained through neuroscience and genetics.
What the brain sets up genetically is a big cable, so to speak, that runs from the sexual arousal circuits towards the genitalia. It's kind of aiming at the genitalia, but there's lots of little wires that start out connecting to the nearby areas.
Occasionally, messages to the genitalia can stimulate nearby areas in the brain.
What can happen genetically is that someone's major cable can end up just like right next to the genitalia in the cortex, which it turns out happens to be the feet.
When the sock is off and the foot's close to my face, I feel like a euphoric sense of pleasure, extreme joy, extreme satisfaction of, I just want to stay here for hours and just be here, be underfoot.
In Ohio, collector Doug Gaines worships men's feet.
I think the horror that we have about fetishism relates to the fact that we want normally sex to be reproductive. Communities have tried to encourage people to have sex for reproductive purposes, so they develop an instinctive reaction of repulsion or disgust for deviant sexuality that's not reproductive.
Doug has felt the sting of discrimination firsthand.
I would get
phone calls in the middle of the night saying, I'm going to kill you. Or I would be walking down the street and I'd hear, oh, there goes that blankety blank faggot, you know. And I would just keep walking because there's nothing you can do about the hatred. In my own life, I've even found the discrimination. I have a brother that won't even speak to me. When your own flesh and blood doesn't even understand you, it's very, very painful.
The stigmas surrounding fetishes cause many to hide.
People with a foot fetish or any fetish are, in Western cultures, going to struggle with shame. Your average man doesn't have any trouble telling other people that he's a breast man or a leg man or whatever, but to say that he's a foot man, that's a big step for a lot of people.
But Doug had the courage to make that step and reach out to others.
I first started out close to 30 years ago. I started with something as simple as this, a simple listing that I manually typed on an old typewriter and ran off on a Xerox machine and sent out to people who joined as members.
This listing grew into the Foot Fraternity website, which boasts over 6 million hits per year.
The reason the Foot Fraternity is important for people who have foot fetishes is they need someplace to go to see the things that we have here. I've received hundreds of thousands of letters. You made me able to enjoy, fantasize, and view real male feet worship. You also stopped me from committing suicide at a young age because I realized I was normal.
For most collectors, collecting is a social activity. They not only accumulate their own collection, but they bring their collection to show to other people. They interact with other people when they're acquiring things and so forth. So for the most part, collecting is a very social activity.
Outside the fraternity, Doug's friends accept him for who he is. He met Barbara at church, and now they're dancing partners.
Doug is a dear, dear friend. I absolutely accept Doug for who he is. We have times where we talk about things that have happened to him in his life that I just want to cry because it's just not fair. Doug's a sweet man and he's a good man, and that's how I know him.
Doug feels his passion for collecting has a broader message.
My purpose is to muster up all the courage I have to stand out there and tell people that this is what it's about. Some of you may laugh, but some of you may say, I get it now. And if I did that, that's wonderful. I want to look back on my life and say, I'm glad I did all of those things. I don't want to be 90 and say, God, I wish I would have tried this a long time ago.
At a second-hand store in Plymouth, 38-year-old Lawrence Cobold knows what he likes.
If I see something that's bright and colourful and stands out and really nice, I have to have it in a way. Okay, thanks. Okay, yeah. Okay, bye.
Every week he hunts for new items to decorate his house. Lawrence is quite the collector.
No one really realises just how much there is. And usually always tend to be shocked when they walk in and see just how much there is.
Lawrence Cobold's life is overrun with ornamental birds. On the outside, Lawrence Cobold's house seems perfectly ordinary. On the inside, it's anything but.
This is my living room. Got quite a few garden birds and a few birds of prey. This is the very first one I hung up in this house. I like it because it's got its wings spread open and it's a bit of a showpiece in the front room.
Lawrence works at a local supermarket. He spends his savings on his birds.
I've never done a proper count. There's about 5,000 thimbles. There's about 600 stickers on the front room door. About 200 jigsaws. Probably about 10 to 15,000 ornaments. I've got loads of bird plates. A lot of the more colourful and brighter ones hanging up on the walls and on the front room table. I've got about 200 I haven't actually hung up yet.
In our culture, birds represent freedom of not being fettered. Lawrence doesn't want to study their feathers or their anatomy. It is already the representation of these birds that interests him.
A lot of the passion for collecting has to do with a focus of attention on something that connects the person to the world around them, something that gives them a sense of meaning, it gives them a sense of purpose, and it gives them a sense of being connected to the world.
This is one of my favourite pieces. It's a 6-foot tall parrot lamp. I really like it because it's bright and colourful and a bit of a showpiece for the front room, and it matches the parrot table I've got.
Lawrence's collection covers every square inch of his house, downstairs and up.
This is my landing area. On the wall, I've got most of my arrow plates, and over here I've got a collection of some of my Egbert ornaments. And in this room is my collection of colourful paper-weights and the rest of my Egberts. When I moved in, I put up loads and loads of shelves and to free up space on the shelves. I'm trying to get as much as I can onto the walls. I originally put up all the pictures and then more or less filled all the spaces in between with hat pins, brooches, earrings, necklaces, stickers, stamps, just about anything that would fill the spaces in between the pictures.
Lawrence's collection speaks volumes about his personality.
It has a whole dimension to it that is metaphorical, that talks about freedom, about how people and nature interact. It's perhaps a way of saying to the world that all these things are very much alive in him.
Sometimes obsessive collecting can point to underlying behavioural conditions.
Collecting behavior can become like an addiction if the person ends up spending all their time at it. We see this with people with certain kinds of disorders. People who have Asperger's disorder or a form of autism will have such narrowly focused attention on something, and that's sometimes when it becomes over the top.
Lawrence has no such diagnosis, but he's close to collecting himself out of house and home.
This is my kitchen, and the majority of the items are actually items to do with like kitchens, like spoons and plates and coasters and food trays and other kitchen items. I don't actually ever use the kitchen as such because it's more for display purposes and actually to be used. This is my dining room. I don't actually use it as a dining room. And it's mostly all my garden bird ornaments and a lot of thimbles that I haven't actually got display for on the walls.
Excessive collecting can impact someone's life quite seriously if the amount of stuff that's collected begins to crowd out the regular activities the person needs to engage in their home. And that's when it spills over, when collecting habit spills over into a collecting problem.
Unable to use his house for cooking, eating or bathing, extreme collector Lawrence Cobold relies on his parents who live nearby. He even stores his clothes with them.
Here, Mum.
Yeah, dinner's ready in 5 minutes. Just about to make your drink. And then hopefully get yourself changed first. It can be a little awkward because I have to cook for Lawrence usually like dinner times. And then of an evening I cook again for ourselves because we like to eat more like 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. But if he didn't come down for his dinner, we would never get to see Lawrence other than a weekend in any case.
Lawrence has a brother, Richard. They share the same parents, but have very different tastes.
I'd rather have a very minimalistic environment. Clutter really stresses me out, so I mean, I like to be able to walk around and not have to watch my elbows.
But Lawrence's love of birds isn't as random as it may seem. When he was growing up, Lawrence's dad also collected birds. Live ones.
I used to be birdman at Clinton, live birds. I used to, do anything with birds. I used to just keep very, about 20 foot long by about 15 foot wide. I used to keep anything up to 200 birds.
He since sold them all. Today, a visit to a neighbour's aviary is a trip down memory lane.
Have you had them, was it? Greenfinch?
Yes.
I had them. I had those as well, border.
I think one of the main things that has influenced me is possibly my dad kept birds and was always around birds.
What day you did?
My dad kept budgies and he had some finches and canaries and cockatoos, and I always like watching television programs of birds. I just like seeing birds with their wings open and listening to them and different colours and things, really.
What started as a childhood hobby has now spun out of control.
It is becoming a bit of an obsession now. I do feel I've got to have as many of this as I can, or as many of that. It would be nice to have like a record-breaking collection of some sort, like most bird ornaments in the southwest of England, or some sort of record. I just like having as much as I can to look at and think, and try and fill every single space, really.
Sometimes simply behaviors we have take over because they are phenomenally important for us, because they are ways of dealing with something that perhaps otherwise we could not confront at all. And I think that seems to be the case in a case like this one.
The collection hasn't just taken over Lawrence's house, it's taken over his life.
Quite often before I go to work, I usually spend about a couple of hours just moving things around, dusting and hoovering. And I used to do coastal walks and visit places, but nowadays, because my time's completely more or less taken up rearranging things and displaying things.
Mornings, evenings, weekends, his every waking hour is spent on his ornaments. For compulsive collectors like Lawrence, objects can take the place of people and relationships.
They have a different quality in their relationship to these objects. It has a lot to do with being in love, with having friends, with having a personal circle that is important to you. And they're simply people who like to live that through objects rather than through people.
I do feel I'm with people when I've got items in the house. This house is empty, and then I feel like there's part of my life missing, really.
Lawrence doesn't currently have that special someone, but he's still surrounded by the things he loves.
I don't think Lawrence will ever stop collecting birds. It might morph into something as well as birds. We might have to get a bigger house.
I don't think he will ever stop, no. It'd be nice if he did, because he's got enough. You know, the house is full. And he can't have a 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom house. You know, he's got to keep it into that one house now.
I'm trying, I keep telling myself I've got to stop, but I probably always will. I'm fairly proud of my collection. I would like as many people as possible to look at it. The more people who see it, the better, as far as I'm concerned, really.
To some, Las Vegas is garish. To others, it's glamorous. Away from the Strip is a unique quarter-of-an-acre lot that's got the neighbours talking.
It's awesome. It's an eyesore.
At first glance, it looks like an abandoned theme park or a bizarre rubbish dump of the city's lost past.
Most people don't even know about it unless it hits the news or something.
In actual fact, this is someone's home. Welcome to Lonnieland. Retired neurosurgeon Lonnie Hammergren lives his life surrounded by strange and bizarre objects. Thousands upon thousands of them. They fill every inch of his 12,000 square foot property. It's a sprawling labyrinth of weird.
This is Liberace's staircase from his television program. This uniform belonged to Alexei Leonov. He's the first human ever to go out in space in a spacesuit. This is Bugsy Siegel's toilet. I got it from the Flamingo before they knocked it down.
Like a human magpie, Lonnie Hammergren collects anything that catches his eye.
I can't remember anything I've ever bought for its seriousness. I bought it because it's an expression of life. I don't know all the hidden motives inside what turns me on about a particular object. I collect because it's there.
It is interesting that collectors often actually are not very aware of the motivations that appear to drive them. Often they say, well, of course I collect these things because they're beautiful, because they're interesting. That may well be so, but most people don't devote their lives to such objects.
It seems random, but there is order in the chaos. The collection is grouped by themes like natural history, music, or movies.
This is my underground garage, which contains movie stars of the cars. All of these are in various movies. Well, this is a dinosaur. It's really a prop from a 1937 movie. I don't know its name, but I call him my dinosaur. And this is the basket from the original movie, Around the World in 80 Days with David Niven.
Lonnieland had humble beginnings. It began with the purchase of a 4-bedroom house in 1972. The neighborhood would never be the same again.
So I bought the house, and then I started making some improvements. The courtyard turned into my music room. The garage roof turned into my pyramid that contains the planetarium. And then ended up with a rotating observatory.
As his collection grew, Lonnie added 2 more floors. When he couldn't build any higher, he bought his neighbours' houses. Today, the collection fills 2 entire houses and 3 backyards. Highlights include a miniature replica of the Hoover Dam, a roller coaster, complete with headless riders, and the Cathedral of Knowledge.
I just expanded horizontally. And now we have a very nice house for Sandy in the corner house. And so we both can have our houses, and we have a meeting ground or a house for a referee in between.
Sandy is Lonnie's wife of 25 years. They've struck a deal. She gets one of the 3 houses entirely to herself.
Well, right now we're at the corner house, my sanctuary. He keeps trying to bring things over, but I have to put a stop to it.
Sandy does not have the diversity of interests that I do. She is much more family-oriented.
I find it more frustrating now than years ago. Years ago, it was sensible things, and we had places to put it. When you start putting fossils in front of the windows to look outside, I think you gotta stop.
Lonnie's taste for the exotic began in childhood.
I read a book once when I was about 11, 12 years old. And I vividly remembered all the things about the book. Richard Halliburton's Book of Marvels. And it occurred suddenly to me, when I started collecting, I just duplicated everything this adventure did that went around the world.
Lonnie's always had the wanderlust of an explorer.
I collected in the jungle, I collected snakes. I have a gondola that is probably one of the oldest in the world. And all those things were because of this book I read.
Now in his 70s, Lonnie sources most of his oddities at auctions.
I've had some girlfriends that were sort of snakes. I've wrestled anacondas almost this big in South America, in Iquitos in Peru. And I'll be bidding on this. If it's in my price range, I'll buy it. I'll take it home and face the consequences.
We have lot number 377 here, this anaconda, and we're going to be starting bidding off. And I'm looking for a bid now, and I got $100 where? $100 there, $100 bid over there, and now 2. And $100 bid in now 2, 200 here, now 3.
Acquiring the things is the most enjoyable part of it. That's the only thing that gets you excited in your belly. You want so much money for it, and I'm willing to pay that much money for it, and then till, bam, the hammer comes down, then you know you got something.
Last call. Are you sure? No, $700 your way.
Lonnie's a happy man. But will wife Sandy share in his joy?
Hey, Sandy.
Hello.
Look what I got at the auction.
Oh, my God, what?
Anaconda.
Don't you have one of these already?
Oh, no, not a soft one. I got other ones, but this is really nice.
And what are you going to do with this one?
Well, I'm going to...
How long is it?
Well, it's big.
I think Lonnie is a hoarder. I think that more is best for him. And it doesn't matter if he has any use for it. It's just that it was somebody else's, now it's his. Where the heck are you going to put this now?
Well, I'll put it upstairs somewhere.
Oh, my God. Stop. This is enough.
The point at which collecting crosses the line into a problem is when the collection begins to interfere with the person's ability to live. And that interference might be because it takes up too much room. It might be because it takes too much money. It might be because it creates strain in the family relationship. And it's only then that the collecting begins to become a problem.
Most collectors keep their collection in their home. Lonnie's collection has become his home.
The money that I've spent on this, on the order of millions, many millions, it's all egocentric. It's my life. I think I'm probably being a monument to mankind.
In Vegas, Lonnie Hammergren feels his collection is almost complete, but he's not finished quite yet. The final article will be his own corpse. He's already built an Egyptian tomb in his basement.
So I dug this tomb because of my interest in Egyptology and decorated this whole tomb with people of my family.
Lonnie's coffin will be an iron lung, an artificial respirator from last century.
After I die, I hope Sandy and my kids will take me down into here, and I'd like to be pickled with alcohol, and preferably a vodka, and preferably a Swedish vodka.
Lonnie is creating a collection that really can't be replicated by anybody. I mean, this is such a grand, over-the-top collection. And he's really saying, look, I did something on this planet. I mattered. And it's a way of building a kind of immortality.
Things rise, civilizations fall. They find bodies 10,000 years ago. In 10,000 years, they may find my body. Wonder what he did. He had a good time, is what he did.
I've told my family that's what I want. Nobody has said they wouldn't do it. I guess nobody said they would do it either. So we'll just have to find out. But it'll be on their conscience if they don't. Because this is my wish.
A dawn flight in Cappadocia, central Turkey. Tourists take to the sky to view the dramatic landscape, the limestone mountains and caves. For centuries, local artisans have lived and worked in these caves, specialising in the pottery which has made the area famous. And in one cave, behind an innocent-looking pottery shop, are thousands upon thousands of eerie mementos cut from the heads of tourists lured inside. In the town of Arvanos, fifth-generation potter Galip Karukcu has worked with clay since he was a boy. He sells his wares to tourists from his on-site art gallery. But in a cave behind his studio, Galip has created a very different kind of showroom.
Sometimes I let some air in. I open the door to let the air circulate and get rid of the smell.
Every inch of the cavern is covered in human hair, snipped from the heads of thousands of women.
I love to keep mementos. It's nice to keep women's hair. There are some natural redheads, which are really beautiful.
It's a strange collection by any standards.
It is definitely a very intimate act. It is more than a portrait, because a portrait is the image of someone, but hair has been part of a living, breathing person. So how would people react to that? I could imagine that a good part of the visitors would feel very uneasy there.
But there are precedents for collecting hair.
Historically, museums have been big collectors of hair. If you look at anthropological collections from the 19th century and the early 20th century, you can see how anthropologists were trying to group human beings into racial groupings through collecting their hair.
Galip's collection has been growing for over 30 years. The very first lock of hair was a memento taken from an ex-lover. She was a French traveller forced to leave the country. And Galip. He wanted something to remember her by.
Before she left, I asked for a piece of her hair. She wrote her name, address and phone number on a card, and then I stuck it up on the roof with the hair. After she left, a second lady came in and asked, "What's the hair? What's that doing? Can I leave mine too?" And then a third woman came in and asked the same question. Then a fourth, a fifth, until it gradually became the Museum of Women's Hair.
It's a selective collection. Galip only collects female hair.
Absolutely no men's hair allowed. Some men do have beautiful long hair, but it's not for me. Only women.
In many cultures, women's hair is highly valued as a symbol of femininity and a symbol of beauty and a symbol of sexuality, and particularly loose hair is seen as a symbol of being sexually available.
Cutting someone's hair is not an innocent act. Cutting someone's hair is an act that is charged with a lot of connotations and energies, and so somebody collecting strange women's hair, this is a sort of Casanova at one remove.
Galip says that all the locks of hair are given voluntarily.
The women come in here and offer their hair. There's no obligation.
After the hair is cut, their personal details are attached. Some leave photos.
For me, every woman that leaves their hair is very pretty, and they're all different. Every woman brings a different energy.
Some, however, question his motives.
I think his cave of hair is rather like a collection of women, particularly when you think that they leave their names and their addresses. This is about trophies. These are pieces of hair from all the women that he's beguiled, almost like little conquests.
It is a way of almost a deferred sort of sexual act. You may not have slept with all these women, but still, you associate something that is very physical, the hair that has grown out of that person's body, that is very strongly sensual.
Galit's wife has endured her husband's obsession with hair.
One time it was becoming a little bit dusty and he started to vacuum the hair. And also later the things started to become a little bit rusty. So one winter when there were no tourists, he took all the hairs off. They had to put pieces of wood and then all the hairs were put on the wood. But then it doesn't become very dirty like that. No, it's not my thing really.
In 1998, the Guinness Book of World Records recognised Galit's work. He was judged to have collected 16,000 swatches of hair.
I had no idea the number of locks of hair I had at that moment, because I've never kept a record. I've never counted. And when I found out it was 16,000, I was really happy.
Since then, many more thousands of women have left a piece of themselves behind in Galit's lair.
Over the years, there have been a few famous women who have donated their hair, but I won't name names. However, for me, everybody who donates is famous, and everyone is special. The nice thing about the job, both the pottery and the hair, is all the amazing and different people I get to meet. It brings something else into my life.
By any measure, it's an extreme collection. And the first lock of hair that started it all is still up there, somewhere.